Um, so I'm going to skip over for the moment the other lecture that I had, which is a lot of words anyway, and you can read about it on the slides. And I'm going to go on straight and talk about the more interesting part, which are the historical stories about Singapore. And there's so many interesting legends in the Malay Annals. I'm really amazed that you don't just make your students read the first 5, 6 chapters of the Malay Annals. It's got so many interesting things in it. Instead, they make up these strange stories about the Merlion, and they used to have that Tales of Temasek over on Sentosa and so on, and never used the actual stories about ancient Singapore, which are much better than anything anybody writes these days. So this is, I'm using a Javanese picture here to start off because I'm going to talk about the sea goddesses of Southeast Asia. Most of you know about Matsu and, of course, the Chinese sea goddesses, but before that, there were a lot of Malay sea goddesses and Southeast Asian sea goddesses in general. In Southeast Asia, the sea was always personified as a woman. So those of you who know anything about Java will know that there's still the belief in the sea goddess Nyai Doro Kidul, which means the Lady of the South Sea, literally. And according to the legend still today, all the rulers of both Surakarta and Yogyakarta have to sleep with the sea goddess in order to maintain their sovereignty. So this is a story about the first of the Javanese sultans, Sultan Senopati of the 16th century, who supposedly made a pact with the sea goddess who lives under the South Sea, south of the Java. And so this is him, and that's her, and here they are making the agreement. And the rulers of Jogja and Solo still have to go through these rituals. So we also have the stories about Badang. Again, we discussed Badang a little bit yesterday, but of course he was someone who was originally from Sayong, supposedly up the Johor River. And then he threw the giant rock all the way from the Bukit Singapura to the Kuala Singapura and so on. So he plays a fairly large role in the Malay Annals too. So these are the various modern paintings. The subject of the sea goddess is still a major topic, favorites of the Javanese artists. So these are the various ways in which she's portrayed. There are lots of popular movies about her as well. So the sea goddess, still, if you go to the South Sea, the Parang Tritis beach near Jogja, and you're a man and you wear green, you may not come back, because that means you're willing to be taken by her. So if you go to the South Sea and wear green, everybody will say, why are you doing that? You want to be taken by the Loro Kidul? So she's still after men, in other words. And she's sometimes portrayed as a semi-sea serpent and sometimes just as a fully human person. And in some of the hotels in the Jogja area, they have one room for her, which nobody ever sleeps in. So this is her room in one of the hotels in Jogja, and they have this kind of painting of her again, and the altar and so on. They burn incense, and they leave other kinds of offerings for her. So her cult is still very much alive today. And this is the south coast where she lives, and under this, at the bottom of this cliff there, her cave is down here. People actually climb all the way down this cliff to get to it, and I did. I climbed down the cliff and got to her cave, and she wasn't there at the time, but so it's still a very well-known story among the Javanese. This is the palace in Surakarta, which is the oldest of the palaces in central Java. It's older than Jogja. And this is the tower in which supposedly the Susuhunan, the Solo rulers don't call themselves sultans, they call themselves Susuhunan, which is Javanese for exalted one. And the ruler still supposedly is supposed to go up in this tower and meet with her. So you still have a whole big structure. The tallest structure in the whole palace is meant for the Susuhunan to meet with her. In Jogja, it's the other way around. Some of you have probably been to the Taman Sari in the Jogja Palace. So that's the palace garden, and there they have this deep underground tunnel. So you go under the tunnel, which goes underneath the old reservoir, which is now dried up. But so there was a symbolic ocean, and you would go through the tunnel to get to this kind of underground chamber. And we suspect that's where the sultans of Jogja would meet with her. And so this is another one of the towers in that palace too. Lots of water, lots of symbolism of the union of the mountains and the seas in the Java area. Doda Kwan, who was the Yuan dynasty envoy who went from the Mongols to Cambodia in 1296, just 4 years after Marco Polo went back, he also mentions the same belief in Cambodia. He said that the rulers of Cambodia, Angkor, had to go up on this tower every night and sleep with the Naga. They called her the Naga queen there. Naga means kind of dragon. So the Naga princess who lived on this tower. So the same thing was not only among the Javanese, it was found among the Khmer. And actually, according to the Khmer legend, the original ruler of Cambodia was an Indian prince who married the Naga queen. So in a lot of places, not only in the mainland but also the islands, the idea of the woman who confers sovereignty on the foreign man is a very common trope. And so it was said that if the ruler didn't go up on top of this tower every night, that the kingdom would fall. That was how important it was. So this is in the area of Angkor Thom, near Angkor Wat, where probably the palace actually existed.